All right, here we go. The graph of line P represents, this is your first equation, this is what's going to go in y1. If the slope of line P, remember there are two parts to a line graph. There's the slope, which is the number in front of x, so this is what they're talking about, is multiplied by -10. So we're going to take our calculator, we're going to multiply that slope of 1/5. And if you see right here, it's already done for us. 1/5 times -10 is now going to give me a new slope of -2. That's the number in front of x. So it says we are creating line R. So this is line R. So we're going to call it R of x. Which statement about the graphs of the two lines is true? Did we change this number here, the y-intercept? No, we did not. So we're going to reuse the y-intercept. We're just going to change the slopes. So you're going to go under y equals, you're going to type in them both. Type your first one in. This is in y2. You can already see that. We bolded it. So let's see what happens here. So let's graph it. There's the first one. There's the second one. So let's look here. Line R intersects line P. Yes, it's not parallel. It's not 10 units above. It's above, but it's not 10 above. And it's definitely not below. So our answer is A. Question 2, if the graph of F, so this is our F graph, is X, and is shifted 8 units up to form a new graph G. So here's the F graph. So the F graph, this is our first one. And then we have a G graph. This is our new graph. It's shifted 8 units up. Did we change the slope? Does it say anything about changing the number in front of X? No. So we're not putting a number in front of X other than the one that's already there, an imaginary 1. But remember, we talked about to go 8 units up, you're just simply going to add 8 from what's here. There's nothing there, so that's why it's plus 8. Not to mention, guys, you could graph this right here into y1 and graph each one of these answer choices here in y2 and see which one is above. So look what I have here. I have the first one. I know my answer is B. And watch what happens when I graph it here. So here's the first one. We need to be 8 units above. And if you look, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units above. We didn't change the slope. So the answer is B. So piggybacking off of question 2, if the graph of y equals 9x plus 4 is translated 4 units up, we're not changing the slope. So our new graph will still have a same slope of 9. We want to add 4 to that back number. Well, 4 plus 4 will make it 8. Our answer is A. You could also graph that. Not to mention, if you look at B, C, and D, each one of these slope numbers are different. Each one of those is different from 9, so I know it cannot be any of those. So our answer is A. For the graph of H of x is 1/2 x plus 3, so we'll write the H graph down. This is the H graph. That's 1/2 x plus 3, and then we have the F graph. The F graph is f of x equals x. They're graphed on the same coordinate grid. Which of the following statements is true? Well, let's first start with the parts of the line. This has a slope number of 1/2. This has a slope number of 1. So that means 1 is bigger than 1/2. So that means this is a steeper graph because I know that the number in front of x is the slope. So 1 is bigger than 1/2. But look at where it's at. This one is at plus 0 because there's nothing there. This one's at plus 3. So that means this is above. This one's above the red graph or the red line. So let's see which one of these is true. Look at Roman numeral I. The graph of H is steeper than F. Is that true? No, because we said this one was steeper. Let's jump down to Roman numeral 3. The graph of H has a greater y-intercept. That means it's more above than F. That's true. But what about this x-intercept? So let's graph this here and take a look. If I put these in the calculator and I graph these, look at where this crosses the x-axis, and then here's the F graph. Well, It's saying that the h-graph has a bigger x-intercept. That's false. The more you go to the left, the smaller these numbers are getting. And so the only answer that's true is Roman numeral 3, which is letter B. And the last one, 5, the slope and the y-intercept of this line right here are both going to be divided by negative 1.5. So we need to take this 2/5. So we're going to take 2/5, that's our slope, and we're going to divide it by negative 1/5. And then we're going to take 3/15, which is the y-intercept, and we're going to divide that by negative 1/5. And whatever the two numbers are that we get that are new, we're going to plug them back in and see which one makes the graph. So let's do some calculator work here. Let's start with 2/5. And so 2/5, so we're going to have to do some alpha here. 2/5 divided by, and then alpha, negative 1/5. So we know that we said the information in black, this is my slope. So my slope now is negative 2. I'm going to put that in front of x. So let's get our y-intercept. Now I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to copy this down, and then I'm just going to scroll back over, and I'm just going to replace that 2 with a 3. And then I'm going to replace this 5 with a 15. And then I'll hit enter. And it's going to give me a y-intercept at negative 1. So now we're going to graph this guy. Negative 2x minus 1. Because the question is asking, which graph represents the new line? Well, this is the new line. So let's graph it. You'll see it crosses the y-axis at negative 1. This one crosses the y-axis at negative 1. It looks very similar, and it is. So my answer is C. The answer is not A because this one crosses at positive 1. We said this number here is our y-intercept.